Yo, what's good, guys? It's Austin here, or Luna. So today's story time is about a few of the most savage women I've ever met in my entire life. I would say it's a pleasure, but it was not a pleasure whatsoever. They were just ridiculous, and today's story time is about that. Now, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie The Purge, but there's a scene where there's these girls in a car riding around just going crazy, causing havoc. This story time is like a direct real life version of these girls, basically. So this story time takes place when I was 16 years old. Now, 16-year-old Luna, I was just kind of doing my thing at this point in life. I just started doing YouTube pretty seriously. I was hanging out with friends as frequently as I could, trying to get through school, but not doing so well. That was pretty much all my life was at the time. I wasn't doing anything else other than that. But being 16, being naive, being kind of stupid, I did something that led me into a lot of trouble in this story time. So this story time all starts off as a normal night. Yeah, I bet you didn't expect that. Usually it's like, hey, this story time starts off as a normal day. Nah, this story time starts off as a normal night, okay? It was a Friday night, and I was grounded. Now you're probably like, Austin, how'd you manage that, man? Why were you grounded? Well, I was grounded for sneaking out, okay? I kept sneaking out on school nights, going out my window, hanging out with friends down the street, spending the nights at their house. And my mom kept on catching me and telling me to stop, and I wasn't listening. So finally got to a point where she just full-on grounded me for like 3 weeks straight. So I was pretty pissed off, but at the same time, I couldn't blame her. I kept just disobeying, so I understand why she did it. But that wasn't going to stop me, okay? 16-year-old Luna was just a very persistent human being, I would say, alright? So yeah, I decided to sneak out again. This time, it wasn't to hang out with a friend of mine down the street. It was to hang out with a girl that I was seeing at the time. Alright, she wanted me to come over and spend the night there, and I decided that I was going to do it. Now here's the issue, okay? This girl lived 2 miles away. Now that doesn't sound that far away, but on foot and walking in the middle of the night, it's kind of scary, alright? And I was kind of nervous, but I was like, you know what? I like this girl, I'm going to do it. So, without hesitation, I grabbed some stuff, put it in a backpack, grabbed my phone, and I creeped out my window and shut the window. And from that point on, I just started walking and starting this long journey to this girl that I was talking to's house. And let me just say, one of the sketchiest walks of my life. Let me tell you why, okay? The first mile wasn't that bad, alright? It was dark, it was a little bit creepy. I took some shortcuts through a bike path that made it a little bit more creepy, but it wasn't anything unbearable. But the last mile to her house, terrifying, okay? Now, she lived in kind of a bad neighborhood, so when I got more into her territory, where her neighborhood was, I started getting followed, legit followed, okay? So I took this turn onto this neighborhood that was one neighborhood away from her neighborhood, and this really shitty, fucked up car starts following behind me with its lights off, just creeping behind me at, walking pace. And I'm terrified, right? Because, like I said, bad neighborhood, probably about to get robbed, probably about to get jumped. Who knows? Maybe I'm about to get kidnapped. I don't know. I'm a 16-year-old kid in the middle of a dark neighborhood in the middle of the night. And I start regretting all of my decisions. I'm like, oh no, this isn't good. I'm about to get robbed. I'm about to get kidnapped. This is it. And all I was thinking was dude, I just want to go home. I just want to go home. I want to turn around. I want to run home. But then I think about it for a second, and I'm closer to my girl's house than my house. So without hesitation, I just take off full speed running as fast as I can down this neighborhood road. And as soon as I start running, the car that was following me, the headlights flick on and they start speeding up, chasing me. So I run through some random yard and I try and take a shortcut, and it works. And I end up in my girlfriend's neighborhood, and I run up to her house and I knock on the door, and her mom lets me in. Her mom was fine with me being there this late at night. I don't know how, but she was. And I go inside and I go to my girl's room and I sit down and I tell her everything. I'm like, yo, I just got chased here. There was a car following me. I don't know what that was. I don't want to go back alone. I'm terrified. And she was like, oh, well, you can just spend the night here. And I'm like, no, I can't do that. If I spend the night here, my mom will literally ground me for the rest of eternity. I can't do it. So I think about it for a little bit and I decide on what I'm going to do, okay? I decide that I'm going to stay most of the night there, and the minute the sun starts to rise, I'm going to run home as fast as I can and get home before my mom wakes up. That way I have daylight to walk home in, or run home in this case, and I won't get robbed or kidnapped or whatever that car was planning on doing. Because in my head I'm thinking this car isn't going to be there in the morning. They're going to give up by the end of the night doing whatever they're doing and go home. They're not going to prowl around in the midday doing that stuff. But sadly, I was so fucking wrong, okay? So fast forward to 6 in the morning, the sun was finally starting to come up, it was getting a little bit of daylight outside, I decide that it's finally time to leave, so I say goodbye to my girl, I creep out her front door as quietly as I can so I don't wake her parents up because they were asleep at this point, and I start my journey back home. Now I get about half a mile into this walk, and I get onto a main road, alright? But the problem was, there wasn't a lot of cars on this main road, at least not as much as there usually was, because it just clicked in my mind that it was a Saturday morning, and no one had work on Saturday. Well, some people did, but not a lot of people. so there wasn't a lot of cars. So I was almost alone on this main road, just walking down the sidewalk in the middle of the open, going on home. So I start picking up the pace, I start fast walking, then it turns into a light jog, then it turns into a sprint because I'm getting like in my head in just anxiety mode. And all of a sudden, as I'm running, I hear a honk from behind me, a car horn, and I turn around, and it's none other than that same beat-up, shitty car that was chasing me to my girl's house. And the car pulls up next to me and rolls its windows down, and there's 4 girls inside, and 3 of them are wearing ski masks. And when I saw that, I immediately knew. I was like, oh, I'm so fucked. I'm getting robbed, or I'm gonna get like beaten up, or something. And the girl that rolls the window down looks at me and goes, hey, I saw you earlier, didn't I? And I was like, no, I think you're confusing me with someone else. And she goes, no, I don't think I am. And I'm like, why are you guys wearing masks? Like, I was just trying to make conversation to, like, I don't know, try and not be so scared. But it wasn't working. I just got more and more scared. And she was like, oh, we're just wearing them for our protection and yours. And I'm like, why? Why would you need to? She was like, you know what's about to happen. Let's make this easy. So without hesitation, I didn't ask any more questions. I just emptied my pockets and gave them everything in my pockets. That included my phone, my cash, my wallet, everything. And she's like, wow, this must not be your first time. Like, you know what's up. And I was like, yeah, just please don't hurt me. She was like, don't worry, we won't. And she rolls up her window and they drive off. Just like the most casual robbing I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, just pull up, just a nice like, hey, you know what's up. We're just here to rob you real quick, no big deal. So yeah, they drive off. Now I have no phone. I'm in a dangerous area. No phone, no money, nothing. So I ran home as fast as I could, climbed through my window. Luckily my mom wasn't awake. That just would have been more fuel on the fire. But this story doesn't end there, okay? So fast forward later that day, I wake up, I message one of my friends on Facebook because I didn't have a phone to text him on. And I was like, yo, come over. And he comes over, he comes into my room, and I go on my laptop and I start doing Find My iPhone to see where my phone's at. And based on where it's showing, it's in the middle of a field, like not far away at all. So I show him this and I explain the whole story, and I'm like, yo, we need to get that phone back now. Like, if my mom finds out my phone's missing, I'm gonna be in so much shit. So we get in his car immediately, we go to where the phone's located, and it was just in the middle of this cornfield, just chilling there. But the worst part is it was shattered. They had no use for my phone, so they just shattered it and threw it in the middle of a field. Like, I don't know why they did that. I guess they thought that it could be tracked, which it could, so I guess good move on them. But yeah, they just left me with a broken phone. So yeah, I picked it up. It still worked, even though it was shattered on the screen. And I had to use a broken phone for the rest of the year. But yeah, moral of this story is just don't sneak out in the middle of the night, especially into dangerous neighborhoods and doing shit like that. Like, that was not a good idea on my part. And if anyone ever robs you, just call the police. Like, don't go doing Nancy Drew work and tracking down your phone like I did. Like, for all we knew, that could have been a trap they were setting. Like, we could have just walked right in the middle of their trap, in the middle of this field, and been, like, seriously hurt or worse. So, yeah, not a good idea. But yeah, guys, I thought the story time was a crazy one. I hope you guys enjoyed this story time. If you did, please leave a like on the video. I'd really appreciate it. Feel free to leave your story times in the comments down below, and subscribe if you're new. I'll see you all later. Peace. They leave me out for the dead, and now they know their fault. All my texts are